At first, it was just a line, a jagged, hair-thin crack on the third-floor wall. The residents barely noticed it. But that crack wasn't just cosmetic. It was a signal, a stress signal. Hidden beneath the layers of paint, behind the facade of safety and comfort, a message had begun to form, one that only those who truly listened could understand. Most people think buildings are silent, but engineers know better. Buildings speak, they creak, they shift, they crack. And if you listen closely enough, you'll hear their story. Every creak in the night, every faint vibration, every seemingly random blemish on a wall is a part of a language. Cracks, vibrations, stains, tilts, these are not just defects, they're symptoms. Every visible flaw has an invisible cause. Just as a fever signals infection in the body, these marks are the building's way of speaking out, of signaling distress. The spalling of concrete, the rust streaks running down from windowsills, the subtle bow in a wooden floor, these are chapters in the ongoing tale of stress, environment, and time. In 2016, a mid-rise apartment in a coastal city started showing stress lines in odd places, corners, ceilings, even bathroom tiles. At first, the property manager called for a quick fix, paint and plaster, a cosmetic solution to silence complaints and restore appearances. But one engineer asked a simple, crucial question. Why now? Why all at once? Instead of masking the symptoms, he listened to the building's story. A proper audit revealed differential settlement. The soil beneath the right wing of the building was sinking, slowly, unevenly. And the structure? It was folding into itself, imperceptibly at first, but with increasing urgency. What looked like minor cracks in the plaster were actually warnings, red flags of an unbalanced load path and a shifting foundation. The building was quietly straining against the forces pulling it apart, its voice growing more desperate with each passing month. Engineers brought in their tools to listen more closely. Ground-penetrating radar mapped the unseen voids below the slab. Laser levels and tilt sensors tracked minute movements. The evidence was clear. The building was moving, just a few millimeters a month. But over years, those millimeters add up. That's enough to snap a beam, to shift weight onto supports never designed to carry it. Every reading, every graph, was a line in the building's confession, a record of its ongoing struggle. The investigation didn't stop at the foundation. Water ingress had crept in over time, seeping through hairline cracks and corroding the rebar hidden beneath perfect paint. To the naked eye, the apartment looked sound, but concrete always tells the truth. Eventually, beneath the surface, rust bloomed and steel weakened, the silent result of years of unnoticed leaks. The building's defenses were being eaten away from within. Every structure carries stress. It's normal. That tension is part of what holds a building together, allowing it to flex and breathe with the seasons and the loads it bears. But unmanaged stress becomes failure. The audit didn't just save money, it saved lives. If left unchecked, the entire East Wing could have collapsed in 5 years. The cracks were no longer just cosmetic. They were early warnings, a plea for help before disaster could strike. This is why structural audits aren't a luxury, they're a necessity. Think of them as therapy sessions between engineers and their buildings. By listening, really listening, to the subtle language of stress and strain, we can intervene before the whispers turn into screams. Every building, no matter how well built, will eventually show signs of age and use. The trick is to recognize those signs for what they are. Not just problems to be patched, but conversations to be had. The lessons are buried in the walls, waiting for someone to uncover them. Before and after diagrams reveal the difference a careful audit can make. Core samples show the slow march of corrosion, the changes in density and strength over time. Time-lapse animations of crack growth bring home the urgency of intervention. Each piece of evidence is a reminder that our buildings are not static. They are living systems, adapting to the stresses of their environment. Buildings may be made of concrete, steel, and glass, but they behave like living systems. They respond to the world around them. They adapt to changes in load, moisture, and temperature. And sometimes, they cry for help. The language may be subtle, but it is always honest. When a structure begins to fail, it does not do so without warning. The warnings are there for those willing to look, to listen, and to act. Next time you see a crack, don't just paint over it. Ask what it's trying to say. Because the earlier we listen, the louder we prevent disaster. A sealed crack, a reinforced beam, a sensor quietly watching for movement. These are not just repairs. They are part of an ongoing conversation, a relationship between people and the buildings that shelter them. So, what are buildings trying to tell us? They speak of soil that shifts beneath their feet, of water that sneaks in through tiny gaps, of steel that weakens over time. They tell stories of storms weathered and burdens borne. And when their voices grow urgent, it is not time to hush them. It is time to listen. For in listening, we find not just the cause of a crack, but the chance to keep our homes, our workplaces, our cities safe. The story of the cracked wall ends not with collapse, but with renewal. The once jagged line is now sealed, the foundation stabilized, the structure monitored by sensors ready to catch the next whisper of distress. The building stands, not in silence, but in a new harmony. A dialogue between the built world and those who care for it. Stress signals are not just warnings, they are invitations. Invitations to pay attention, to care, and to act. In the end, the walls that surround us are not just barriers, they are storytellers. And the stories they tell can mean the difference between disaster and resilience. So the next time you walk down a hallway and notice a thin, jagged line, remember, it might just be a crack. Or it might be the building's way of reaching out, asking you to listen. Because every structure has something to say, and the sooner we hear it, the stronger and safer our world becomes.